She'd like to know what the Quran says regarding the treatment of women, because of the fact that there's obviously in the world today some mistreatment of women in Muslim countries. On one count, I say to you, this is correct. I have visited about 23 countries that have major Muslim populations, and in some of those countries I have found that to be the case. Mistreatment of women based upon culture, not based upon Islam, based upon the culture of people. What the Quran says is that Ya ayyuhan nasu taqu rabbukum alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida, and I'll recite the Arabic and then translate it for you. وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. The Quran says, and this is one verse, O mankind, give reverence to your guardian Lord, Almighty God, who created you from one single soul. So the first position that God says to us is that He created male and female from what? One single soul. And created its mate. So created Adam and created his mate. From what? One soul. And from those two, a countless number of men and women. Then He says, you should fear God or be mindful of God and His legislation as regards to the demands that you make of one another. This means the demands that's made between the husband and wife or the people who are together. That means the basis of their relationship should be the legislation of God, not the legislation of men. And you should give reverence to the wombs that bore you life. Who is that? The mothers. So in this verse, God is telling us two things. One, that the relationship between the male and female, in terms of their essence, they are equal in the sight of God. That's number one. Equal in the sight of God. We don't say the same. They're not, evidently not the same. I mean, in the Western world, we are led to think that they are the same, and some men and women are undergoing operations to become the same. But they are not the same. The male and the female are not the same psychologically, they're not the same physiologically, and they don't have the same social roles, but they are equal in the sight of God. Then God goes on to say, fear Allah by whom you demand from each other your rights. So God says, be mindful of His legislation and His justice, by whom you demand your rights. Right? What kind of rights? Marital rights, here it means. My rights as a husband doesn't originate from me. And my wife's rights as a woman, as a female, or as a wife, doesn't originate from herself. I'm not the one that gives her her rights. She's not the one that gives me my rights. The one that gives both of us our rights is the legislation of God. But then God says on top of that, for us men, to give reverence to the wombs that gave you life. Who is the wombs that gave us life? Our mothers. And if we reverence our mothers, we have to reverence our sisters. If we reverence our sisters, we have to reverence our wives and our daughters, because all of them inevitably will be mothers. The other thing is that Allah, peace and blessing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered for us and outlined for us all the rights of inheritance, the rights of treatment, the rights of worship, the specific roles. God says in the Quran, الرجال قوامون على النساء. Men are the maintainers, the protectors of women. What this basically means is that in Islam, the woman doesn't have to work. She doesn't have to earn a living for herself. She doesn't have to. The husband cannot order her to wash the dishes, wash the clothes, iron his clothes, fix his food. He can't order her to do anything. But God has ordered him, on the contrary, to maintain her, and she doesn't have to work at all. Because God said, "Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa." But God has given to the women one of the gravest tasks. One is one they cannot avoid, and that is having children. That is the task that God has given to women, to bear children.